This video is going to be a look at Joseph Ossai's play in the Bengals' 23-20 loss to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Of course, the most famous play, the one that a lot of people will remember him for, is the personal foul that's pictured on your screen right there, where he pushes Patrick Mahomes, who had 1 or 2 or 1.5, whatever your perspective is, feet out of bounds, and picks up a 15-yard personal foul that basically gives the Chiefs a very makeable field goal, which they converted on to win the game. Absent that penalty, obviously it's going to be a tougher situation for the Chiefs, even though it was a great play by Mahomes, for the Chiefs to get a field goal there. I think there's going to be 8 seconds left, so clearly a big play by Joseph Ossai in terms of a mental mistake. But look, one of the things that I believe is that I don't think he deserves nearly as much criticism as so many people have levied against him. Number one, he's a 22-year-old guy in his second year in the NFL, number one. So should have played last year in the NFL as a 21-year-old. Did not. Suffered an injury in the first preseason game where he beat Tristan Wirfs for a sack on Tom Brady, by the way. Actually suffered 2 injuries in that game. Ended up sitting out the whole year. Has come back this year and I think played well. As a 22-year-old guy playing behind Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, Sample as well. So there's 3 guys there kind of, I don't want to say ahead of him on the depth chart because I'm not sure how the Bengals staff rates Ossai versus Sample. They're different players. I think Sample's more of a run defender. Ossai is exceptional as a pass rusher. If you ask me as a Ravens fan, I've seen a lot of film of him late in the season. Got opportunities basically starting in week 15 to get more reps and showed out, if you ask me. And I think showed out in the AFC Championship game. Look, just so you know, he didn't play consistently throughout the year up until that Week 15 game. Prior to that, his high for snaps or reps in a game was 40 against the Jets in Week 3. I'm not sure why exactly. Maybe they had injuries to other DNs. I'm not sure. So didn't get a lot of consistent playing time. That changed in Week 15 against Tampa Bay, the game where the Bengals had to come back and win or came back and blew them away really in the second half. He produced. He had a season-high 46 snaps against the Ravens in Week 18, the regular season finale. He registered a sack, a QB pressure in that game, and recovered a fumble for a touchdown in the end zone. Pretty productive. I like the guy's game. I'm going to show you some film here. His lead-in's been a little bit longer. A lot of these plays are not going to be the ones that certain people will remember him by. I try to not pay attention to some of the noise, to be honest with you, about people saying he should be cut and all these things. Look, Joseph Ossai plays with an incredible amount of force and effort. And that's going to be seen in the AFC Championship game film. This is not the AFC Championship game film. One of the things I've noticed in the 3 games that I watched last night and today about him, he plays better later on in the game. And he plays better from a left-handed stance. So what I mean is he plays better on the right-hand side of the defense where Trey Hendrickson is. We'll show you the end zone angle of this play. This is the next last play of the Bengals' regular season win over the Chiefs. Of course, they won that game 27-24. I shouldn't say next to last play of the game. It's the next last offensive snap for the Chiefs. This sack by Joseph Ossai forced them into a 55-yard field goal, which was missed, to preserve that 27-24 lead. Effort, tenacity, and again, I think he plays better later in the games, and that showed up in the AFC Championship game. After me showing this play of his 15-yard penalty, we'll then go in order in the plays, and I will reference what timestamp it is in the game in some situations, but he just played with a lot of tenacity, and clearly Patrick Mahomes is out of bounds. They're going to call this. I have no problem with them calling it. I'm taking up for defending whatever the phrase you want to use for a 22-year-old guy, 22-year-old kid in a lot of ways, being as I'm in my 40s and I'm an old man, who played his ass off on a huge stage. And hopefully he remembers that penalty and internalizes it and uses it for fuel. But hopefully some members of the staff and teammates, and I mean, the way that B.J. Hill stood up for him in that interview was fantastic. Hopefully some teammates, staff members, family remind him of how badass he played. Now, this is not the best rep of his, to be honest with you. I think, and I give you the end zone angle of this too, I think he doesn't react to the tight end key well, and then damn near gets reached by the tackle, which should not happen from this alignment. There he is lined up, head up on the tight end, and you're reading the tight end. Tight end blocks down, so free releases. You're stepping down and replacing him, looking for a kick-out block, looking to be read as an option man possibly. Tight end, releases outside like an arc release or pass pro, or excuse me, a pass release, maybe get hands on them and then rush. Tight end reach blocks, which he does essentially here. You got to fight for outside position, not give up that outside position. Not only does he get really not touch the tight end, but Orlando Brown reaches in. Now, the tight end helps as well. I just don't think he reacted very well to the key there, to be honest with you. But the Bengals have such great pursuit that DJ Reader makes an unbelievable play, and Ossai still got involved in the tackle. He plays extremely well from the right side of the defense in a left-handed stance, which is kind of ominous. I think he's got heavy hands on pass rush, dealing with tackles. I think he does a great job of using his hands. When I say heavy hands, I mean that's Orlando Brown that he's dealing with. And when he gets a hand to slap, he doesn't collapse Orlando Brown's posture and his left hand. He's a huge man, but he's got heavy hands. In my opinion, he reminds me of a boxer with good punching power. Maybe not one punch knockout power as an edge rusher, but good power. Great burst, if you ask me. Same play, all 22 angle, just so you can see him, bend around the edge, get pressure on Mahomes. Mahomes almost makes an unbelievable play, but it's a dangerous pass, and Ossai is a part of forcing this action. It'll be interesting for me to see what the Bengals do in the future with Ossai being as, in my opinion, and you may disagree, or maybe if you're a Bengals fan, you can give me feedback on this. I think he plays better from the right side of the defense, whether it's lined up as 3 technique here in a pass rush situation, whether it's lined up as a rush end. In this case, they've got him and Hendrickson on the field together. Hendrickson is always playing here. Sam Hubbard is always playing here. Sample and Ossai kind of go. They will play from either side. It looks like to me Ossai plays with more force and a higher motor when he plays from the right-hand side of the defense, just like Trey Hendrickson. Incredible pursuit. I mean, really, you could say that the penalty that he had on Mahomes' first down scramble is partially due to the fact that he does have such a great motor. This is the missed tackle by Jermaine Pratt and others as well on Pacheco. Really an unbelievable play by Pacheco. But look at how much faith Ossai has in his ability. That's Orlando Brown, that he's bull rushing and pressing and then getting to the outside. And yeah, he kind of makes contact with Mahomes' chest, face mask, I don't know, and I don't care. I'm talking about how tenacious he is, how he fits in with the Bengals defense. It's as a Ravens fan, it's kind of scary that they were able to draft this guy. He didn't play at all last year. And he just now shows up near the end of the season in terms of playing 30, 35, in some cases 40 or 46 snaps a game like this one, and plays like a badass. I think he's got tremendous talent, 3.5 sacks this year. But again, you have Trey Hendrickson, who was injured for part of the year. I think Trey Hendrickson may have been dealing with 2 injuries. I know he's dealing with 1. And Sam Hubbard on the other side. Sample is a trusted run defender. So it's not like he got a ton of reps. Look how physical and strong he is. This is perfect. He's stepping down. So here's how this works. His visual key is the tackle who's stepping down. His pressure key, guy to get hands on, is the tight end. In this case, they go in opposite directions. The tackle steps down, so that's his visual key, so he's going to step down. He steps down and collapses this kick-out block. Nowhere for McKinnon to go because Pratt fills quickly as well, and then he just bounces outside and makes a tackle. He's tremendously athletic. I think he's 6'4", 260, 262, somewhere in that range. To me, he looks a little lighter. He looks 255, 250-ish, but they've had him listed at 260, 262 or so for 2 years. So this is the same play, all 22 angle, stepping down, collapsing the kick-out block. But watch who the kick-out block is. It's the right guard. So the right guard is coming from a decent distance away. He's got a lot of momentum moving with him. And Ossai just stonewalls it. Boom. Doesn't get kicked out. Doesn't get expanded, anything. He's an athletic guy, plays with tremendous motor, great hands, and he's very strong, as evidenced by the bull rush and then long arm with his left hand on Orlando Brown that I showed you 2 or 3 plays ago, and then as evidenced by that kick-out scheme, basically one-back power, where he doesn't get expanded at all. Lined up as a wide rush, he spins inside, ends up getting a sack here, I believe, on Mahomes. Yeah, it's behind the line of scrimmage. Not saying it's necessarily really smooth, to be honest with you. He is dealing with Orlando Brown and has a second lineman come over to help finish him off, but his second effort is tremendous. He fits right in with this Bengals defense. I'm a big fan. I mean, I'm a Ravens fan, but if I want to be intellectually honest, or honest as a analyst or whatever the hell I'm trying to be here, I have to recognize that there's a young guy here who made a big mistake, obviously, but played his ass off in this game. And if people aren't able to be intellectually honest about those and say, yeah, he made a horrible play here at the end, but he played incredibly well and I think he had 5 tackles in this game. I think he had 3 quarterback hits. Maybe it's 3 quarterback pressures. I'm not sure. This one is fantastic. This is Hendrickson off the edge, and then he's slamming the inside gap from like a 3 technique position. So you can see that they trust him. Meaning in a pass rush situation, they got Hubbard. I think this is Hill, but I could be wrong. And this is Ossai, and that's Hendrickson. So they've got guys here in a pass rush situation that they trust, and one of them is 22-year-old Joseph Ossai, who appears to be correctly running a stunt to help free up B.J. Hill. See him slamming into the center to allow B.J. Hill to loop around. It doesn't work from the standpoint of freeing him up, but what it does do is free up Ossai, who they try to hold late in the play. I'm a big fan of the guy. I hope he rebounds from this, and I hope that he learns from it. I thought it was awesome. B.J. Hill standing there at his locker, in the locker room after the game, and when he said to the media, like, ask a better question. I don't even remember what the question was, but just the nature of a teammate, a respected guy, a very good player, underrated, like so many people on the Bengals defense are, standing there and willing to be the bad guy. I like people who are willing to be the bad guy. B.J. Hill wasn't a bad guy, but he was willing to stand there and look like the bad guy to protect a young guy in his second year in the NFL who really didn't start playing football apparently, or wasn't even introduced to the game till he was like, I think 10 years old, came over from, I think, Nigeria. I like the story. My little commentary there. You may disagree with me, no problem. Certainly not a great play by Joseph Ossai at the end, no doubt. Certainly did put the Chiefs in better position, for sure. But did he cost his team the game? Well, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Hayden Hurst, Joe Mixon, they had the ball twice with the game tied at 20 in the fourth quarter. They had the football 2 times, and they did nothing with it. Well, they didn't score, let's put it that way. I think one time they threw an interception, and the second time they had to punt. They failed to score. Joseph Ossai didn't fail at anything in terms of what he was asked to do with his responsibility, his gap integrity. I mean, the run fit that I showed you to the bottom side of the screen, yeah, I think he played that quite poorly. His failure here was giving tremendous effort. And that's why I titled this Young Man in the Arena, hearkening back or referencing the speech by, I think, Roosevelt in France that was originally known by some other name. I can't remember what it was, but it talks about the man in the arena is the person who counts, not the critic. And for me, just the way I see the game and the way I look at it, especially when it comes to young guys, I feel a little protective, even though never coached anywhere near that level. It bothers me a little bit when I see young guys criticized so much and attacked, and in some cases even attacked by their own fan base. Played his ass off, gives tremendous effort. Probably shouldn't have even been there on the sideline to give that shove. That's how fast he is. That's how much effort he gives. And I think that that's a huge asset for the Bengals in the future. And it's kind of not fun for me to say that as a Ravens fan, because if Sam Hubbard or Trey Hendrickson moves on and they just plug Joseph Ossai in there, he looks like a guy who can give you exactly what they can, and in some cases even be an upgrade. You guys let me know what you think of this film study, what you thought of Joseph Ossai's play. I presented you with a number of good plays, showed you at least one play that I consider to be bad or poor execution. But otherwise, I thought the guy played his ass off. Appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think of the video in the comments section.